Welcome to the Conquer Food podcast with Craig and Paula Williams, where we share tips, tricks and strategies from the coalface of the weight loss industry in the UK. We're going to help you to think, eat and move better. Ultimately, we're going to help you finally gain control and conquer food. Hello guys, welcome to the Conquer Food Show. I'm on my own today, which is a little bit strange, I know, but it's first of a series of sort of solo casts that I'm going to do where I'm doing much more of a teach. I've had a bit of feedback, a bit of a request that we talk a lot, we do interviews and conversations about weight loss and fitness and happiness and health and lifestyle and all that. However, sometimes we're kind of missing some of the meat of the teaching. So what I want to get across in these solo podcasts is those teaching things. And I'm going to start today with what I call the 4 Ds, blocking your motivation and how to get rid of them. Okay, so by the end of this session, I'm going to take you from somebody that is looking to increase or even find motivation in health, food or fitness, to someone who's highly charged, highly motivated, just working really hard to get things done. Okay, so you're going to go from procrastinating to consistent action, from lethargic, sort of low energy, to feeling charged and demotivated to highly motivated. Okay, so that's kind of the promise for today's episode. So stay with it. What I will say before though is that if you're listening to this podcast and you like what you're hearing and you're getting value and benefit from this, then please either like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And also it'd be really good if you could invite some of your friends and other people that you think is going to benefit from this kind of information. Okay, so please remember that. And as you go through this session, if there's things you're thinking, wow, this is just good information, then we need help to get this out to the people that need it. So please help us. Okay, so let's get into it. The 4 Ds of kind of motivation. If you're kind of stuck, if you are feeling like you've got no energy and feeling lethargic, if you're struggling to get up in the morning and do things, or your training's not quite where it wants to be, and all in all you're just suffering with a lack of motivation, you're going to be experiencing one, if not some, maybe even all of the things that I'm going to talk about today. And these are what we call motivation blockers. Now I call them the 4 Ds because we can categorize them into the 4 Ds, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But the metaphor that I'm going to use throughout this whole session is that of a car trying to get from sort of A to B. Because when we talk about like motivation, whenever we sort of talk about motivation, we're trying to get from A to B. Okay, so A, wherever you are right now, and we are working hard, or we are definitely working to get to B. It's and more often than not, if we're talking about motivation, it's because fundamentally it's a better place that we're trying to get to. Okay, now the process of getting there might not be that attractive, which is why sometimes we struggle with a lack of motivation. But today we're going to look at the things that kind of get in the way, the things that give you lift underneath your wings, and the things that push you forward, okay, in these 4 Ds of motivation. So let's not go on about it anymore. Let's dive straight in. So the 4 Ds, I'm going to tell you about them now. Number 1 is dopamine blocks, digestion blocks, drive blocks, and distraction blocks, okay? And I'm going to talk about each one in turn, and then I'm going to give you a 5-step framework in order to start to rid yourself of these blocks that are kind of holding you back and preventing you from being motivated. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, dopamine. The majority of people know what dopamine is right now. It's our pleasure hormone, strongly associated with addictions and things like that. But if you look at life now compared to life as cavemen and cave women, where our mind, has evolved, there are so many things that trigger dopamine. It used to be that we would only get a dopamine hit if we, got food that day, or we, managed to stay alive that day, or we found honey that day, or something, it was something we had to earn. We had to earn dopamine. We would kind of wander around wherever we were, the savannas, the grasslands, the deserts, or whatever. And it would have to be earned to get this big dopamine hit, which the body, our mind, and everything just loves. It's such a powerful driver. I mean, depending on what research you read, you'll see they say that sugar can produce much more dopamine than cocaine and other class A drugs, such as the power of this sort of chemical, the hormone that we're talking about here. Now, in effect, so we're talking about rewards there, and dopamine is the little reward that the brain gives itself. Now, we end up with blocks because we are so used to getting little hits of dopamine from so many other places now, and it's not earned, is the key point. Like, you can pick up your phone, you can look at your messages, you can scroll through Instagram and Facebook, bang, and get a dopamine hit, and a dopamine hit, and a dopamine after that. And we are getting bombarded with these things that are just giving us these hits of dopamine. And then you add food on top, and the addictive nature of some foods and the effect that sugar has in our brain, and the way that they layer, scientists are putting this food together so that you get such a dopamine hit that you keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. The three tastes that we are just irresistible to human beings, especially when we lace them together, we layer them together, is sweet, salty, and fatty food. So you think about all the things that you would usually binge on. A lot of them are, for people, are cakes, donuts, biscuits, all these things, muffins that we know are, and think about some of your favorite ice creams like the Ben and Jerry's with a cookie dough. It's all there, sweet, fatty, and also salty, and those taste together, we just cannot resist it because of the dopamine producing properties that these foods have. And we have jacked our body. This is why it's a blocker, because we no longer want to go out and do exercise to get dopamine, because we can sit on our phone and scroll and get dopamine there. And actually, it's much easier to do that. Now, as well as like the body being an incredible machine, fundamentally it's quite lazy. Inherently we're quite lazy, because calories used to be really hard to come by, and they're not now. They're everywhere, and we can actually just, we can eat so many calories in so little time. But our body is still in a state, and our mind is still in a state where calories are scarce and we need to hold on to them. When we've got the opportunity to consume, and let's just go nuts at it. And because it's lazy, that's why you're favouring sitting on your backside, scrolling through your phone, watching TV, these Netflix binges that people are on. Think about when you get to the end of the show and it's like, and there's this cliffhanger, and you're like, my God, I need the next one, and it's driving us to do more and more and more of that, and not a lot of the stuff that's going to give us long-term results. Okay, so that's dopamine. The next one, and dopamine is it's like the reward of getting to your destination. So think about your metaphor. It's like the reward of getting to your destination. And actually the reward of any getting to any destination is usually the process of getting there. Okay, so that's that. The next thing I want to talk about is the actual engine, the engine of your car that is creating the propulsion. Okay, now we can look at that pretty much as our digestion, and we actually end up with blocks in our digestion. Apart from our brain, our digestive system is the biggest calorie consumer in our body. Okay, there is a lot of research that suggests that the human mind increased dramatically in size when we suddenly start to eat cooked meats predominantly, but cooked food. However that happened, I don't know. Maybe there was a forest fire or whatever, and someone goes, "Oh, look at this, a burnt spud. I'll try that." We started to eat cooked food. But because we started to eat cooked food, a lot of the digestive process was taking place outside the body. So, we could save calories there. So we started to eat this cooked food. We didn't have to chew it as much. We didn't have to process it as much, which meant our intestines could get smaller and smaller and smaller. Therefore, the calorie requirement of our intestines was much, much less through evolution. And the thought is that excess of calories was sort of pushed towards the development of the brain, and that's where we got this huge brain compared to the rest of our body size and our cognitive ability. The problem is because it is such a calorie consumer, if we overload it in whatever capacity, whether it's something that is toxic or laced in fat, laced in sugar, something that needs to be incredibly processed by the liver, the kidneys, the stomach, or whatever. Think about the stress that alcohol puts on the body, or the stress that fatty foods have on our body, or even things that we're actually not really supposed to be eating, like dairy and wheat and stuff like that. We've got to handle this. We've got to churn it up in our stomach. We've got to break down these bits of food so we can absorb them and use the basic ingredients and all this kind of stuff. And it just takes a lot of calories to do that. So no wonder you're kind of feeling lethargic. You know this. You've experienced this. Christmas Day, all right, or a day of significant celebration that is, around food. Mother's Day, you have a Mother's Day meal, whatever. You go to a wedding and, that loads of food at weddings, and you just overindulge and you are just like flat packed, like bloody IKEA furniture for the rest of the day because you've got no energy. Your stomach is caught up in digesting all this food that's in your body. So because of that, no wonder we're feeling lethargic. Okay, so that's why it's another block. All right, so that's very much like the engine. It's the workings of what's going on inside your body. You're chocking it up. You're choking it through excess amount of food, or the type of food that you're taking in, or the poisons and all this kind of stuff. All of which has got to be processed. Now, anybody that's done any decent amount of fasting, and I don't mean like starving yourself. I mean like proper fasting. There is a difference. If you're interested, I could do an episode on that later on. But I'm not going to go too deep into it today. But when you do a period of fasting, your body gets a massive break from having to digest food, and that use of calories can be projected into different functions of the body, primarily healing. A lot of healing goes on when you are truly fasting, an incredible amount of healing. So, imagine if you get up in the morning and, people say have a breakfast like a king. Let's say have a massive cooked breakfast. Well, where is your energy going after that? You're just going to chock yourself up for so long. All right, so that's like your engine, your second motivation block, really, the thing that's stopping you from getting up. And you can see, you've experienced it. You're flat packed on the settee, and you just cannot be bothered. Or haven't got the energy. You're too full to get up and do something. All right, so I don't need to explain that one anymore. The next one is your drive. So the third D, which is causing a lack of motivation, or it's blocking your motivation, is drive. And this is like the fuel, really. This is like, what is giving you your propulsion, what is forcing you forward. And a lot of people are they're almost reactive, going through the motions in life. Like they've got if you say to the average person, what are your goals? And they're like, just get through today, really. They haven't really got any goals. Without goals, you can't really have any drive. You certainly got to have aspirations of something better, something new, something different, something you want to change or whatever. But you've got to, you've got to be fed up with the status quo right now, or what's happening right now, and you want something else, and something is driving that, whatever it is, whether it's you are driven to have a better body image, you are driven to be fitter, you are driven to win the next race you're in, or the next challenge you do, or just to be rid of the ailments, the whatever it is, psoriasis, overweight, obesity, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, whatever it is, you are just driven to get away from the pain and the problems of those ailments. And therefore, you've created some goals, or you've got problems that you need to solve, and you're driven to solve the problems. I say that because 70% of people are actually not goal driven. We're problem solvers instead. So rather than having a goal, right, I want to get to that, it's like, right, these are my problems and I need to solve them. And by proxy, the byproduct is you will end up where the goal is. Okay, so that's why I'm saying we have problems that we need to solve. So that's the third one. Again, it's like your the why, the big why that lots of people talk about, of like pushing you along, giving you the fuel, the burning desire to get it done. Now, if you haven't got that, well, no wonder you've got no motivation. I want to tell you a little story about a guy really hard. He's working 9 to 10 hours every day in the office, and by the time he gets home, he's snacking on biscuits and stuff like that. By the time he gets home, he is knackered. The last thing he wants to do is start doing work around the house and gardening. Right? It's just the last thing. And his wife has been pestering him for weeks that to dig over the garden and start doing a bit of gardening now that the days are much warmer and there's a bit of sunshine. And he's like, I'm knackered. It's just the last thing I want to do right now is do the gardening. Anyway, this goes on for a couple of weeks. One day he comes home and his wife said, look, I don't know how to tell you this, but I was washing up. My engagement ring has slipped off my finger and it's gone down the drain. I can't find it anywhere. I think it's stuck in the drain. And, incredibly, the guy's like, my God, expensive ring. I need to find this. It means loads to you. It means loads to me. I need to find it. He got spade out and dug up the garden without a question. Now, the only thing that's changed there is the reason, is the why. Why is he digging the garden? Well, just do a bit of gardening, can't be arsed with that. To find an expensive ring that means a lot to him and to his wife, completely different why. So that paints a picture of why we need to develop a reason for doing these things, and we need to agitate that. Whatever it is, you cannot settle for how things are right now, because if you're not growing, you're dying. So we need to be doing something to get something new, to get something different, to improve in some way, whatever it is, whatever is driving you forward. And remember that all these blocks, when we talk about motivation, this is not just about food and fitness or health. This is success. It might be business. It might be work. It could be, your education, anything you can use these things for. Okay, the final one then, we live in a world full of distractions, okay, which is the fourth D. Distractions. These are like things, as you're moving from A to B, these are things that jump out and try to pull you off course. It's driving down the road and seeing the golden arches and thinking, I might just nip in there. It's the dog that jumps out from the side of the road and you've got to swerve off course to avoid it, and there's distractions everywhere, from phone constantly bleeping and ringing, emails dropping in all the time with someone else's bit of urgency that they're trying to impose on you, with social media, all forms of social media, with the stuff that's going on right now with the virus and things like that. There is just distractions absolutely everywhere. Even your family members, in some way will look to distract you for different reasons, and it's all there. And these distractions will block you from doing what you fundamentally want to do. One of the guys that I know had the greatest physique that I actually know in person, right? We all know famous people have got incredible physiques, but the guy that I knew had an incredible physique. In fact, the two guys that I know that have got the best physique you can imagine are actually, in regards to their training, their eating, some of the most selfish people in the world. And they've had to be, because they've got to dedicate that amount of, a serious amount of time to their food and their fitness, and nothing else can get in the way. Like, they will not be distracted by their family. They will not be distracted by other things that's going on in their life. Their fitness, their training, their food is just paramount. It's the pinnacle of everything they do. They live to train. They don't train to live. And for me, I don't really want to be like that. But unless you're like that, things are going to grab your attention. Things are going to pull you away from what you're actually looking to do. Let's say you're trying to write a book, and every day you sit down to write a book, but then, the kid's running up and down, or the dogs need to go out, or your wife's shouting, or your husband's shouting because, you need to help with breakfast and all this kind of stuff. It's just, these distractions are obviously going to be very destructive to what you're looking to achieve. So how do we deal with this? Well, I've come up with a little framework, which I've called the first framework. And each letter, I like to come up with these little frameworks, but you'll get used to them. The first framework, each letter stands for something. Okay, so F. So the first bit is you've got to go on some kind of fast. Now, like I said before, I hinted that fasting and starving yourself, two different things. Starving is like you're eating a little bit of food, not enough to sustain yourself long term. Fasting is like you are giving yourself a break, full stop, and you can fast with regards to your food. You can fast with regard to your technology, and the ideal is that you fast for both. You give yourself a break, even if you are cutting out some of the obvious things that you shouldn't be eating. Even if you give yourself a bit of a digital detox for a week, 2 weeks, or whatever it is, maybe even a few days to start with, it doesn't really matter. As long as you start to claw back this control over the release of dopamine in your brain, this pursuit of dopamine, you've got to make it harder for your body to trigger this dopamine. You've got to become comfortable in the fact that, you need to earn it. You can't, if you want to get something different, if you want to get improvement you're going to get healthier, fitter, leaner, whatever it is, you have got to earn that dopamine, and you've got to be happy with that. You've got to understand the benefits of that, because anything where it's an instant hit, as majority of the time, has got a negative connotation to it. When you look at the second and third hand consequences, it's going to bite you on the ass in some form. Okay, so you look at the crap food that you eat. Yes, instant dopamine. Hopefully, you're picking up my finger clicks on the microphone, but instant hit of dopamine. But what follows it through time is obviously an increase in your waist size, problems with your organs, putting on excessive weight, all this kind of stuff. Okay, so whereas dopamine that you earn, you've got to earn that up front. There's no credit for that. It's got to be earned up front and paid for in full. Like, you cannot have the dopamine of having a great fitness session and have not done the fitness session. You can't do it. So you've got to pay for it in full up front. Okay, so a little fast, and you can start with 16 to 18 hours food wise. You can start with 2 or 3 days with regards to technology, whether it's TV, social media, whatever. I'd be really keen to hear what you decide to cut out to start reclaiming your control over dopamine. But that's the first one. F is to fast. To give yourself a bit of a break. When people at boot camp, there's a few different reasons why boot camp works. Predominantly is because we remove choice and we control it. Another thing is that things start to reset, like your taste buds, your energy levels, your sleep all starts to reset, because we cut out a lot of those things. That a lot of these blockers that you will have in your life at home, and we need to try and replicate it now if we're going to get control. The I then of first is identify your why. Now, this is linked massively to the drive blocker. Okay, if you haven't got any drive, if you don't feel like you've got reason to live, or nothing seems, you're not grateful for anything right now, or you're not driven to do something different, we need to find something. You need to really do a little bit of a mental audit of your thoughts and where you want to be, and start creating a really bright future. It might be that you're looking at your past constantly, and that's where we get a lot of frustration and anger and depression, when we're looking back at things that we've done, and life is bigger in the past than it is in the future. We need to flip that. And my life changed dramatically. I spent a lot of time really struggling with depression, as a lot of people do. And I noticed that I was the most depressed when I was looking back at my time in the Marines and things like that. When time was amazing. It was only when I started to look forward and create such a bright future that it pulled me through life, where I had less and less days when I felt down and depressed. So we need to work on a why. Again, I'd be really keen to hear about what you identify as your why, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I don't want to put words in your mouth. The next thing is to remove distractions. Obviously, we really need to focus on these distractions in your workplace. Get rid of the clutter in your home life. Get rid of the clutter. Get rid of the clutter out of your kitchen. Start coming up with a routine. Speak to your family. If they keep chirping in saying, right, you need help with this, you need that, you say, look, I need to dedicate a bit of time to do this, and this is why it's important to me. I need an hour to train. I need an hour to go and walk. Or whatever. But remove that distraction so that you can focus on you. And in our experience at boot camp, a lot of people come to boot camp and they say, I'm finally going to work on me. Especially we find, middle-aged mothers, is that they spent so much time looking after other people that they've got to the point now where it's like, right, I need to focus on me now. Well, why don't we bring a bit of that into our life before it gets to the point where you're forced to do something about it? Why don't we be proactive and start to do that now, and working on, speaking to people that distract you and try and pull you away from what you're trying to achieve, and create some space, some capacity where you can do the things that you need to do. Okay, action being the operative word. It's no good talking about it or anything like that. Next thing is then stick to the routine. Now I've done a couple of posts in the Facebook group, the Conquer Food and Fitness Facebook group. By the way, if you're not in there and you want to join, then you can go to Facebook and just search Conquer Food and Fitness, and you'll see that there's a group there, Conquer Food and Fitness by Team Bootcamp. That's us. I do motivations, little daily posts every day, and the thing that I've been focusing on in the last couple of days is the period of 21 days, because depending on what research you read, there's a strong suggestion that some habits can be formed after 21 days. Okay, so when we're talking about sticking to a routine, I say to people, look, the first week is easy. Second week is like, it's a bit of a struggle. Third week, you've usually given up, right? So see it through to 21 days. And that's a magical time for a lot of habits and a lot of activities, because it starts to become habitual. Not only do you get used to getting your shit together and hitting the gym or sorting out your eating, whatever it is, you get used to the routine that other people around you do as well. And this is what I mean by about the distractions and that kind of stuff. People just learn that, right, it's 4 o'clock. It's time for mum or dad or whatever to go to the gym. They always do it. They've done it for the last 3 weeks, and they're pretty keen on it. So people just get used to it. All right. So see it through and aim for that 21 days. By the way, if you want to make it like a lifelong habit, a lifelong routine, then aim for 3 months, which at first can seem like a lot. But when you've done 3 weeks and you're 3 weeks in, it's much easier. What I also say with that is like an added bonus tip is that when you're thinking about your 21 days, pick a significant date that's around 3 weeks away. So for me, my birthday is 6 weeks away right now, and I'm already setting goals towards that date because it's a significant date that I'm not going to miss. I'm not going to go, bloody hell, I was supposed to lose 10 pounds by the time my birthday. And my birthday was 2 days ago. I forgot it. You're just not going to forget it. So pick something out. So you've got a flag in the distance. You've got something to aim for, right? And that is going to dramatically help you with regards to sticking to your routine, okay? As well as other stuff like get some accountability and all that kind of. But sticking to the routine is imperative, because it's what we do consecutively. It's what we do consistently which matters, not what we do every now and again. Okay, so stick to that routine and work at it. And then the final one, the T of first, is tackle the big hitters first, which I say to so many people in so many different contexts, really. When you look at food, hit the big hitters. Don't worry about having an extra cup of coffee because it boosts your metabolism if you're still drinking a bottle of wine every night. Don't worry about having chili flakes on your dinner because it boosts metabolism if you're still having your Domino's pizza on a Friday night or whatever. Get the big hitters. Get the big hitters done. Get them out of the way, and you'll make a significant change to what's going on. Okay, don't worry so much about the minutiae stuff. Okay, get them big hitters and concentrate on that. Okay, little recap then. So the 4 Ds: dopamine, digestion, drive, and distractions, and then the steps to kind of overcome that. The first framework. First of all, fast. Next, identify your why. You need a big reason why to drive you forward. Remove your distractions, because the distractions are going to pull you away from what you're looking to do. Stick to the routine. Remember, pick a date, 3 weeks out, whatever. Aim for that 3 weeks. Things get easier. Remember that. And then the T is to tackle the big hitters first. Okay, so I hope you've found benefit of that. I know I went a bit of a rant, but it's what I do sometimes when I start talking. But like I said before, Team Bootcamp is an environment where this all happens by design, really. You come to bootcamp and it just happens. We remove choice. We get rid of the distractions. You can focus on you for a set period of time. You get time to think, which helps you to identify your why, because whilst ever you're doing, you're not thinking. And, we realign your taste, your sleep, and all this kind of stuff. And you've got to be able to replicate this stuff at home if you want results at home. Okay, so think about that. Right then. So you got a choice now. You've got a choice. The choice is that you can keep trying to use willpower and wishing for motivation to get to your goals and your choices, or you can start to implement this framework and motivation, can be something that's quite easy for you. You're naturally motivated because these blocks, these things holding the majority of people back are out of the way. Right, so what to do next? Some of you may not know, but on our website, the conquerfood.org website, we have a quiz. Some of you have had questions saying, how do you know if you're addicted to food? And we have a it's about 20 questions. It doesn't take very long to do, but we have a quiz on there where you can work through and see if you've got either an addicted relationship to food or certainly an unhealthy relationship to food. And some of the questions quite illuminating, really. If you want to do that quiz, just go to conquerfood.org/quiz and you can do that quiz for free. Okay. We do ask you to stick your email in, but that's because we want to send the results to you so you can review them and all that kind of stuff. And we also follow it up with a couple of suggested bits of content. So I think, here's a podcast episode that might be a benefit to you and all that kind of stuff. You can unsubscribe if you want to, but the quiz can be quite illuminating. Other than that, as I mentioned at the start of things, I would love it if you could leave a review. It'd be really really beneficial. Like and comment. If you're on YouTube and you're listening to this, then hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell, because we don't always stick to our uploading schedule. Sometimes we get a little bit busy, so to get those notifications, hit the bell and leave us a review on iTunes and that kind of stuff. Finally, the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is please share this with people that you think will benefit from it. So until the next time, from the Conquer Food Show, take care.